What's the good word, y'all? 2023 NFL Draft finally came, day one. Plenty of surprises just in the first handful of picks alone, but we get to the New York Jets finally at number 15, and I think a lot of us were honestly surprised with the selection of Will McDonald IV, a guy that probably wasn't anywhere on the first round radar for the New York Jets. And considering that we were looking at the edge position as well, a lot of people left questioning, scratching their heads about why we wouldn't have selected a guy like Nolan Smith, who also has elite measurables in and of itself, as well as the athletic testing. So what can we expect from our new first round pick, and why did this particularly make sense for the New York Jets? Well, if we just want to dive into philosophy, we know Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are always going to prioritize the offensive and defensive line. One of those two positions have been the selection since Joe Douglas has been at the helm in the first round. And so seeing that all of the top four tackles came off the board before the picks came, and you'd have to imagine that maybe Broderick Jones would have been a selection if the Steelers didn't jump us on a trade with the Patriots. But it left you scrambling. From what I recall, the New York Jets actually almost ran the entire amount of time that they had to make the pick down as well, which I assume was spent working the phones to try to get a trade down, but probably an acceptable trade never ultimately ended up coming through. So, Will McDonald, we're talking about a 24-year-old, 6'3", 236, I think just shy of like 240, 239, something like that. Has over 50 games of experience. Happened to play a little bit of linebacker in 2019. And then you're talking about a guy that's played a 4 and a 5 technique position during his time at Iowa State. And so when we're kind of projecting what he'll do in this New York Jets defense, you're looking at him as a stand-up pass rusher. Ultimately, I would say that playmaker doesn't quite do it justice. I would say that he's one of the disruptors of the league that I think will be coming in as a rookie, right? He came in, he was immensely productive over his time at Ohio State. We're talking 80 solo tackles, 40 and a half tackles for loss, 34 sacks, 10 fumbles. He's even been able to chip in on a lot of pass deflections. And so you get excited for what his potential could be. And, when we want to discuss what he's potentially bringing to the table, it is quite a bit, right? One of the things we have to keep in mind is when I heard the pick and I, started diving into him, as I looked at the skill set, kind of what is going to be happening in the near future, we don't know if we're going to choose to sign Bryce Huff to a long-term extension. And so this is quintessentially the Bryce Huff replacement that we're looking at. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the strengths. His calling card is his explosive first step. I mean, he's had very strong measurables, an 11-foot broad jump, so you know that the explosiveness is there. He had a pretty good 40, 10-yard split time and agility drills as well. So you see all of that on tape. It's not just something that's randomly thrown out there. And, even so much so that you can see videos of him, pulling Blake Griffin tactics, jumping over cars, doing backflips, different things of that nature. So you're excited to see that hit the field. He also has one of the better body proportions, I guess is the right way to put it, with having some borderline elite arm length out there. He can effectively use his traits when you see him focus and everything lines up between the footwork, the arm length that he has at his disposal. And one of his deadliest moves is him being able to go out there and either convert his speed to power when he's doing just straight outright speed rushes, a deadly cross chop for himself. He has elite bend to be able to get around the corner on people, and you are effectively looking at him as a pure speed rusher with what he's bringing to the table and what his skill set is. And if considering Robert Saleh's scheme, Bryce Huff's roles, things that you've seen with a guy like Jermaine Johnson as well, this is a guy that'll probably end up playing in like a wide 9 alignment, and so you're putting him shaded outside of the tackle's shoulder and giving him that chance to just go put his nose down, find the quarterback. And this is what I'm assuming the New York Jets really loved about him, especially when you take a look at the full picture. Now, there are some concerns, right? I mentioned 236 pounds as a guy that you expect to be playing as part of this defensive line rotation. He is going to be quite light, right? He can get bullied around. This is why I said Bryce Huff easily is his best comparison for our roster and the guy that he could look to replace as a much cheaper long-term option. So sloppy footwork, while he has the athletic, explosive traits, he's not a guy that moves particularly, well when it comes to lateral movement, sideline to sideline. So you may be able to see him at linebacker, but it's probably not going to be a long-term position for him. I've been seeing that quite a bit, and I just don't think that really matches up with what we've seen. He's going to get overpowered, 236 pounds. If he comes across, a tackle that he can't just blow by, or his cross chop doesn't move, he doesn't have a lot of effective or overly effective counter moves. He does have a few rips and different things that he can go to as well, but it's going to be pretty much game over immediately. He can kind of run himself out of a lot of plays as well. And considering that he's been a 5-year, not a starter, but he's played 5 years at Iowa State, you think that he would have developed more moves. That just never really has, been the case. But he's still gotten the job done. Also, you have to kind of question, will they keep him truly in just a wide 9 setting? So ultimately, you're taking a guy in the first round that if he truly does become the next Bryce Huff for us, he's seeing minimal snaps if you don't really trust him to handle the run game. And he may be able to bulk up a bit, but then you get concerns about, will he keep his natural explosiveness and speed? Will there be a lapse, a bit of a fall off, different things like that. And then ultimately, while he's going to be a situational pass rusher and you hope he can develop into more, there are the concerns about him and the amount of tackles that he's missed as well. So this isn't the perfect prospect, in round one, especially in the first half of the 16 picks like you would normally expect. But I would say, considering all of the things, I just have to trust in JD here, right? It's still kind of a head-scratching pick, but I think as long as you have a guy that's going to be across the defensive line, Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich, they're going to find a way to use him. But considering, again, there was Nolan Smith, there was Kalijah Kancey, you could have found a guy in the second round that I don't think the talent or athleticism gap is that crazy of a difference between him. So we'll see. We head into day 2 looking like we need to focus on a tackle or a center prospect. We only have the one, so now we have to choose between the two, which makes a lot of sense for why now we might have seen them hedge their bet with Connor McGovern coming back on that super cheap contract. But all in all, still excited for the pick and what we've done. We have the ability to utilize these picks without having to force them on the field right away, although McDonald, we usually run 10-man rotations, so he's going to see the field, and we'll see how much he pops off the film for us immediately. But excited for him. Let me know what your guys' thoughts were, and I'll catch you again. Peace.